Thank you very much. And it's good to be here, and I got to tell you, it's congratulations on a great session that you've been running. Oh, there we go. And so what I'm here to, and been asked to talk about today is broadband is an essential service. And when I say that, I want to be clear. I'm not talking about essential services from a labor standpoint, like police, fire, and paramedics, as a lot of them like to scream about. What I'm talking about, broadband is an essential service to the quality of our life. Our lives may be not depending on it, but our future sure does. Connectivity is critical to competing economically and building thriving communities. Communities need to benefit from the brain gain, not from the brain drain. And when communities are losing our brain trust because we cannot provide the life for the young people to stay in our communities, it's a serious issue. And I know you've seen this photo before, but that's okay. We're all on the same page. We're all a happy family. But connectivity should not be a problem for rural communities. It should be the solution. And it can be the solution to help overcome challenges with great distances among populations. Also, when I talk about that, it also means revitalizing our small towns throughout rural Ontario. Doesn't matter if it's Northern Ontario, Southwestern Ontario, Eastern Ontario, it's essential. Rural businesses, I say, is modern day farm this year now is the wired farm is what I call it. And it doesn't matter if it's GPS planting, GPS harvesting. I know I'm from a farm and that's the way all our equipment runs. The efficiencies, the ROI is there. But again, we need the connectivity to make work. Also, as you heard me say earlier, robotic milkers are the way of the future, and the data that all these cows carry. And the slogan has, and I know when I had my cows, that you know, those tags that the cows either wore on their ankles or on their neck. You know, we always said every cow wears a Fitbit now. It's a reality. I'll tell you, for what you're paying on your wrist, it's a lot more than what it costs for the cows, but someone's making money. But get back to it. It is $8. Just think about it when the next time you pay $200 for one of those. But, you know, I'm going to say broadband is what's essential to help our farms connect with our markets and our consumers. There's a lot of on-farm selling. You talk about Amazon. Agriculture's been on the leader for that for the last 20 years. And it's really important. It creates opportunities to retain youth and on our workforce. It's easier to make access to public services, connect to health care. It's essential for educating our kids, especially with the new government policy that a lot of them have to do work online. How many people here have that your broadband is so bad that your kids have to upload their homework at the local McDonald's, Tim Hortons, or the hockey arenas or your libraries because we got open Wi-Fi for them to be able to come and do that? And it isn't just downloading, it's uploading their homework because it's all in this new Chromebook system in our education system that we're having. Now, when it hasn't hit you, it will. And this is something that's extremely important. My son's a pilot in Sioux Lookout. He's hoping to be a commercial pilot. And my daughter's in the ag sector, so they're 24 and 26. But they got a lot of friends now that are traveling the world these days as digital nomads. They work off their computer no matter where they got broadband. We're going to lose that talent if we don't find a way to create that place to come to North Bay, Sturgeon Falls, Blind River. This kid's going to learn and see what the North is all about, but able to work from there. My wife and I took her, according to her, after 29 years, we took our first trip out to more than 5 days. And being a former recovering dairy farmer, we don't know any better, and especially as a mayor, we don't know any better. But we went out to the Calgary and Stampede and went out through the West. But I'll tell you what's concerning is when you drive across the Trans-Canada Highway for over 300 kilometers with no cell service, this is 2019. That's unacceptable today. It is. And we got to find a way how to fix it. Our next thing what I want to show you here is this picture I think is really fitting. Kitchener, well, it's actually Berlin. It didn't become Kitchener until 1915 because of the First World War. But here is what they're doing here is they're celebrating. They have hydro. And what I'm trying to say is that was important to them 100 years ago. Isn't that what we're going to be if we can be connected with broadband? Better believe it. That's what telephone and hydro was 100 years ago, is what connectivity to broadband is today. And I think it's just trying to put it in perspective of where we are and why the need is there. And I think you heard it earlier. It's not just roads, water, and sewer anymore. It's also having that ability to have fiber. And I know Sir Adam Beck, nationalized or made a public company with hydro, and it was to connect our communities. And we wouldn't have had it if it wasn't for what he did. It was in 1908, and it also took 1910 before Kitchener, Ontario, had hydro. So I think those are some of the big cases that we can't forget, but also understand that we still have our challenges. Here's the Caledon story, and with the picture, if you look back out past the cupolas there, you can see the CN Tower. That's Caledon. From that point, there's zero connectivity. You can't dial out to anybody. And yet you can see 8 million people to the south of you. That's how close we are to a market. This is Caledon, 731 square kilometers, and it's the have and have-nots. And in today's standard, that's really tough. Going to door when I was mayor in 2014, the number one issue, bar none of anything else, was lack of high-speed connectivity. And it got worse this last term in 2018, and it hasn't got any worse. But I'll tell you, I got this commitment from council because they understand it too, because they heard the same story. And I think our MPPs and MPs did hear this in their last elections. People in Caledon are paying the size of a mortgage, or at least a car payment, to pay for a broadband service that's dismal, that hardly works. I also want to proudly say, because Bell and Rogers are the guys that I'm pointing fingers at, because I'm a Rogers carrier along with XploreNet, and a good day is if we got one that we can be able to download information. Netflix, lucky for those that can download it. But what I'm trying to say is, this is a real challenge for all of us that we're having this. But what I'm going to say is, we're paying for a service that's just terribly lousy. If we got a service and we're paying that, it would be one thing. That little wheel going around, when you're wanting to bring it up, you're paying for it. Trust me. So just so you know, Caledon is paying for Babcock's salary for the Toronto Maple Leafs coach, where you pay his salary every year out of the fees that we pay for a bad service that we're getting for our broadband. And if Bill Rogers are here, sorry guys, but it's true. But we see a lot of that with our parents, with our kids. It's a serious matter that they have to go to Tim Hortons and McDonald's. The McDonald's in Caledon Village, that's on Highway 10. It's open 24 hours. And the reason is because the manager knows there's kids that got to upload their homework. Our public libraries and our arenas, we have open access Wi-Fi so kids can come in and upload their homework at nights. It's part of public service, but it's unacceptable for the 2019. We'll talk about 2020 next year. So course setting on connectivity is access to affordable high-speed broadband. We built it in our work plan. We started by doing a town-wide gap analysis. We found 8 communities with poor substandard service. Basically, it means you haven't got any. We joined the SWIFT, the Southwestern Integrated Fiber Technology. It's a nonprofit corporation, and I think you've heard it. It was the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus, and they brought in municipalities like Caledon and Niagara, Waterloo, London, and so that we could build the whole system. So there's 20 municipalities, 15 First Nations. We have 3 universities on board with 4 colleges. We have others that we're negotiating with. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about SWIFT. It's a good organization. I heard some comments today, and I heard what Angela said, and she's not wrong from her perspective. It's frustrating for me as a board member. The biggest mistake we ever did was agree to take 180 million, 90 million from the province, 90 million from the feds, because what it did was we had to redo all our procurements, we had to hire all these consultants, and we've just been dragged through a knothole through process after process after process, trying to get things off the ground. We got 4 applications pending for a signature to be able to start to put fiber in the ground. And it's really frustrating for me. But again, why are they penalized? And I understand bureaucrats are trying to cover themselves. How many here are an elected official? Right? We mess up, we either lose our job for sure, or we go to jail. It doesn't happen in the bureaucratic world that way. And I'm going to tell you, it's a serious concern. And it's something that we have to find efficiencies and understand. We're all in this game together and we're trying to deliver a service to make something happen, because it's not happening. And that's why municipalities are involved. I also want to say in our community, before I go to my next slide here, is Mayfield West. We have a new development. We're going to double a population in the next 20 years. And we've got a community of 24,000 coming into what's called Mayfield West. And in that, what's called a smart community. And what do you mean by that? We have a ubiquitous Wi-Fi. So what it means is all the traffic lights have, or street lights have antennas. So the kids that go to school in that community do not need a cell phone plan. It's all connected. And I'll tell you, I got a lot of this. We got the visions from John Young. I'm going to do a shout out to him. And if you haven't read his Brain Gain book, read it, because I knew I needed to do something in 2014, and that was really between that and the Smart Cities Conference held in Toronto, kind of led that inspiration. But not only that is what we're doing. Even when you order your new house, instead, if you want to do upgrades, instead of having new counters and stoves and everything, you can also upgrade what kind of safety system, burglar system you want. You'll have what kind of system you want so that you can work off your phone to set your furnace, your air conditioning, everything's powered. You saw one of the jokes earlier on, but this is the new reality. So you're coming in, you're buying in a community, everything's going to be smart. Even with what I call the Amazon door, where if your parcel shows up, instead of porch pirates taking your parcel, it goes through the door and is delivered in your house, and you get it on your phone that you have it. So I got to say that is something I'm very proud of. But also the other thing that we've also implemented as a council is all our road construction. We followed the Peel example. It's been 10 years since Region of Peel's been doing it in town. For 3 years now, we've been putting pipe in the ground. For any road construction we've been doing, we've been putting pipe in the ground so that we can have fiber pass through it. And it's funny, the fiber does show up after when you build it, they will come. It's for real. But I think as municipalities, as councillors and as mayors, I encourage you to go home. You're coming into budgets, so start to do it. You can buy I'm told the pipe is cheap here, but we get it really cheap. We just get it from Home Depot, the white plastic pipe, and drop it in the ground. But anyway, it's just something that you want to consider. But the next insane thing I want to tell you, as you see here, don't raise our taxes. I wanted to put our money where our mouth is, and to join SWIFT, we needed to bring money to the table. So we put a broadband levy on, and we started at 1%. We're now down to 0.6%, but it has given us the ability to let the community know, but it also holds council accountable that we are taking this very seriously, and we're trying to deliver on something that the public wants. And when we have our meetings about our budget, we go to the public. They don't come to town hall. We go out and we meet in community halls. We told them all what to do, and it's interesting. The only ones that objected to it was one businessman, and I'll tell you a quick story on him in a second. And secondly, was there were either employees for Rogers and Bell. Interesting. But the one gentleman that said didn't want it, he was a Scotchman. But 6 months later, he called me and he said, I got a problem. QuickBooks is now a cloud computing. I don't have enough bandwidth. You got to help me out. So, you know what? Our town staff went and we did find a solution to help them get connected. But I'm just saying, this is just how things are changing. And it's just something that we have to do. But also, what happened there? There we go. when I was saying don't put all our eggs in one basket, and with the levy that we got into place, we found it's been taking a long time. And then, the frustration and things aren't moving fast enough, and especially when there's a need and a family and kids are trying to get their homework done. People are trying to work from home. It's a real challenge that we're having to face. So we knew we needed to look for other things. So what we also have done, as you can see, we have Vianet there. We put an RFP out and said, we've done our gap analysis. Here's our gaps. And we put it out to all the providers that were approved by SWIFT and others that were interested, and said, tell us, for how much, how can you solve these problems for us? And we knew how much money we had in the thing. And Vianet got the nod for two proposals. And the one is the connected, and we've been trying to work with Bell and Rogers for the last number of years, trying to get our business sector. Residential seems to be okay in the urban centers, but the business sector was really suffering badly. And it was hurting business, and it was going to hurt our economic development if we didn't do and move quickly. And I have to say, thanks to Vianet, they will have our community up and going by the end of April. And to me, that's extremely good news. But here's the other challenge that we have, and I learned this through SWIFT, but also through ours, is our communities, when we start doing gap analysis to find there's different parts of fiber that different companies own, but two of the biggest providers that are sitting on dark fiber are two railways, CN and CP, across Ontario, and also Hydro One. The challenge is they're willing to help and work with the communities, but when you bring the Bill and the Rogers into the mix, we need to be able to share and costing of who owns what. And this is where we need the provincial and the federal government to step up the plate to help us on this. And this is a real challenge, and you heard the speaker this morning talk about the dark fiber. This is a reality. And if we can find a solution, CN will work with us. CP will work with us. Hydro One will work with us, but we got to find a way. As a municipality, I don't have the ability to do it. We need the province to find out how we could come together with an agreement that we all can share. We can use this dark fiber as even for backhaul. Gives us the ability to operate. And I'm going to tell you, this is something that's extremely important to all of us. And this is something we have to figure out how to solve. Oh, I've gone too far ahead here. So, again, as I say, I'm a double hatter. For some of you might notice that that's the joke we had it's an issue we have for full-time and part-time firefighters. But not only am I here as a mayor today, but I'm also here as Chair of Roma. And our key priority for the rural municipalities, our number one priority is broadband. And we've been championing this, and anybody that's been at the Roma conference, the AMO conference, I have been asking the question, when can you make it an essential service? When they can make it an essential service, it allows us to work with our guys sitting on the dark fiber, and allows everybody to start to work together. My goal as the leader of the rural municipalities of Ontario is to connect communities. It's about bringing us all together, and that's what we have to do. I don't care how much Bell owns. I don't care how much Rogers owns. I don't care, if it's Go Telecom. We all need to work together. We all need to figure out how we can share to connect our communities. And I know everybody in this room, we all have that same goal, but we need a little bit of leadership here to help us get there. And I know Roma is not backing down until we can find a way to get there. Here I go again. So some of the key drivers that we're really looking forward to is our tax dollars are precious, and we need to find a way to solve problems. And I always said that the federal government has all the money, the province has all the power, and the municipalities, we solve the problems. But we have to find a way on how to be, some were saying earlier today, government shouldn't be owning telcos and stuff like that. That's fine. The reason why they are is because there's nobody stepping up the plate to do it. We need to me, I always believe, as Angela said, if you can find it in the yellow pages, government shouldn't be doing it. I'm going to come from a different angle. I do believe we should be enablers to help make it happen. And I think that was the purpose of what the SWIFT initiative and EORN was, is to make it that it's affordable to invest in the rural communities. And I think it's something that is extremely important, that we have to do that, and we got to find a way to leverage that. And again, what I'm saying is, that's why I'm asking, all the homework I've done is, this is why, as municipal leaders, we're asking to make this an essential service so that we all can share the fiber and connect our communities and get the broadband that we need, the bandwidth that we need, and the fiber that we need in the ground. And I also have to say, it takes all of us working together. As you can see here, there's AMO, there's Roma, and there's FCM. And for the last 15 years, I've been involved with the Rural Caucus at FCM, and it's been talked all across rural Ontario, rural Canada. It's the same thing. We all have the same problem. But it's time that we need to get this fixed. I think the conference here today, because I think it's really, really important. And I do believe that fiber is the best solution. I know we need towers, we need a lot of things to get our communities connected, and no community is the same. Everybody's unique in their own way, but it's how we can work together to help benefit. And if my community benefits, how do we share with our neighboring municipalities side by side? And I think it's something that's extremely important. We are blessed that we have Airorn and Swift to kind of help lead down in the south part, but I really feel that half of Ontario is not yet covered. That's Northern Ontario. So how do we help and support the northern municipalities? I know Phenom, I know NOMA, and I know the French Federation of Municipalities we're all working together to find solutions on how to get our communities connected. And to me is what they say, well, how much it's, is they talk about the cost. I don't think it's the cost that we should be talking about, is the investment. How soon can we start to make the investment in our communities? We all know we need it, and as municipalities, we're prepared to step up and do our share. I've proven it with a levy. It's the most insane thing to do, but people know when it's desperately needed, it needs to happen. But we got to find ways to move quicker, and we need government to be enablers as well. And you talk about the Red Tape Commission, I can tell you, I've seen a lot of it that can be cleaned up trying to get approvals just so that we can get things off the ground for Swift. But that's another story for another day. But what I want to say is I want to thank everybody in this room for being here and being a partner to find a solution. So stay tuned. Our Roma conference is going to come up, and January 20th, we're having a 90-minute session, and what it's going to be about, we know with the gaps in analysis, I think we've discussed this here today, what we're trying to do is find a solution on how we can get fiber in the ground for our municipalities. Thank you so much.